I couldn't help it. He was too nice and too resourceful to deny. This is a story of how a wealthy family was separated because of me, because of my greed, because of my belief that she would never find out. In 2017, I was working as a consultant at a local company, helping people manage documents for their visa applications. Back then, people didn't understand much of the process and requirements to secure an approval. I consulted and managed anywhere from 8 to 12 cases per day, and I did enjoy it in a way because I received tips and perks both from my customers and my boss. It doesn't mean the job wasn't stressful. It was. Not every customer was nice to me. Some would complain if a reply was late by 1 hour. But being a woman, most male clients went easy on me. Instead of anger, I got compliments, forgiveness, and tips, like I said before. Among the tips were gifts such as cosmetics and cash. That was kind of them. It was part of the culture. But I understood that customers wanted to please us emotionally so we could take care of their visa cases well. But there were always men who wished to move things further from a client-consultant relationship. Some asked me for my personal phone number. Some would ask if I'd be free on the weekend for the movies. Well, I always maintained my professionalism and kept things confined to work-related only, even when some would flirt with me when they called or came in person to get their status update on their applications. Things were kept under control. My goal was simple: to work hard and earn to support my family. Until one man came, a regular customer who was a broker. He basically connected other people, especially the elderly, to work with me and my team for a profit, and even kickback that the company would give if a volume reached a certain target of the month. He was nice, friendly, and caring. He even asked if he could help me with the case management so that I could relax more while keeping my performance up. But of course, I didn't accept his offer. It was my job to do it, and obviously he wasn't an authorised employee in the first place to do anything with us at that level. He always tipped me in cash and gifts. So many, to the point I started to feel a sense of guilt that I allowed myself to accept more than I should have. I understood that some wealthy people felt a pity toward those with limited means. But even so, whatever I received was a bit much. I was the biggest source of income for my family. I needed to fund my younger brother's university tuition and my household expenses. I moved to the city for this job 2 years earlier and had been sharing a rented house with a roommate who was my high school friend. Let's call her Lena here, although it's not her real name. My mother was not doing well and in need of regular hospital visits and medications, so I needed to work hard. Without me, we would be evicted, and my brother would have no future. My father passed away in a tractor accident when my brother was only 6 years old. Well, the customer, he was different. No matter what he'd given to me, he never once asked me out or engaged in an overly personal conversation, but gifts kept flowing in. He was one of our biggest customers, and even when sometimes I felt not so comfortable receiving so many, I was too afraid to deny. I felt if I in any way made him unhappy, I would lose him as a customer, and I would be fired for the damages caused to my boss. Besides, he didn't do any harm to me, emotionally or physically. My associates and I basically had to treat customers as if they were some kind of divinity. It was ridiculous, but doing that paid the bills. In November 2017, so 4 months after continuously serving him, he out of the blue told me he was feeling down because of his other business and asked me if I could talk with him to feel better. That night, during his business trip to a city, we talked on the phone for hours, and he thanked me for being by his side. He also asked me about my family. I told him I needed to support my brother's education and the whole household, as my mother was ill. 1 week later, he visited the company again to meet me, this time without any new customer referrals, but with a gift, a brand new iPhone 10. My colleagues were surprised. I was extremely shocked. What did I do to deserve this much? I simply told him I was happy to assist, but the gift was way too valuable to reward me for basically doing my job. He was insistent. My colleagues were encouraging me to accept it. They said I did well and worked hard, and I should accept this token of appreciation from this big client. Denial would make him unhappy, we feared. After a few minutes of hesitation, I thanked him and accepted it. From then, he and I would chat and talk as often as we could. I did notice something. We talked on the phone at night, only when he was travelling, but who was I to intrude on his affairs and schedule? Fast forward to January 2018. On the weekend of the second week, he called me to be ready because he would take me out to a restaurant for my opinions of his business problem. I was caught off guard. I did not expect it. But I didn't deny because, judging by the many months of knowing him, I didn't believe he had any ill intent on me. He went about 15 miles away from town to a remote neighbourhood where they served Korean food. It was surprising how he could have known that I liked Korean food. We ate and talked about his other business. About 1 hour into the dinner, he began to order alcoholic drinks to celebrate my success at work and to cheer for the future of my career. I didn't put too much thought into it and went with the flow. The next thing I remembered was I became too drunk to walk myself, and he carried me somewhere. I woke up at past midnight in bed. Not my bed. With 10 missed calls from my roommate. I immediately called her to let her know I was okay, and I didn't hear the phone because of the music of a party. I had to lie in panic, and I told her I'd be home in a few minutes and everything was okay and fun. But I knew exactly what had happened between him and me. He drove me home. We crossed the line. We crossed a point of no return. But the most shocking revelation had yet to come. Being much closer now, I decided to clear my doubts. I noticed this pattern of phone conversation only during his business trip out of town. I asked why we didn't talk when he was here, why he barely texted when he was in town. He told me in a cold, confident tone he had a wife and 2 children. He promised that I'd be his partner. He would give all I ever needed. He would help my mother with medical bills and my brother's university expenses. He would give me money, properties, and love. A chill ran down my spine. A shocking revelation. A choice I had to make immediately in my mind. Either I ended it right there and then, or I chose to stick to him for the sake of my family. I remained quiet and ignored him for 3 days. But seeing my sick mom and my lack of financial means made me think. Think about what was offered to me. I made a choice in the end. I became his mistress in secret. With windows tinted dark, his 2016 S-Class was his vehicle of choice when he took me out whenever he had a chance away from his family. I became aware of his wife's business. She ran a small chain of local marts in the city and a few in different provinces. I learned she frequently visited different locations, sometimes with her husband, but most of the time alone with the children. On the surface, the family appeared to be a warm place full of love, but I saw the cracks that I filled. That was the husband, his need for intimacy, his need for a new flavour. Whenever he and I spent a romantic time together, he'd give me from $200 to $500. He paid for my brother's tuition for the year and helped with the cost of treatment for my mother. It was about $3,400. At first I felt guilty of receiving so much, the guilt of soliciting someone else's rightful spouse. It weighed heavily upon me. At first. Over time, I let go of my very own conscience. I accepted the fact that it was all easy money. I didn't have to work hard anymore. I didn't have to worry about money anymore. I didn't need to save much. I saw my family better off. Things were going well for us. What could go wrong? During dinner at a French restaurant, we ran into someone he knew. That person came and greeted him and was surprised to see me, not his wife. He didn't dwell in his curiosity to find out who I was, but his side eyes and frequent glances told me something. The way I dressed should have made the man understand I was not a client he was meeting. I was something more intimate. From that moment, I realised the relationship was no longer private and secret. It was only a matter of time others would know. Worry and fear once again gloomed over me. Days and nights. My now partner told me that we'd meet less often, due to his family matters he needed to attend to. In fact, I suspected his wife was informed about the fact we had a date in that French restaurant. I began to see her coming with the man when he visited the company to bring new customers. She sat just a few feet from me and looked around at all the female employees there. I was sure she didn't know who was with him, but she probably suspected one of the women he worked with must have been his mistress in secret. About 45 minutes later, she asked us how much we were making a month. To that, each of us girls told her it was a decent amount, but not enough to live a comfortable life. She went on to ask if all of us were married. Some said they were, but I said I was focusing on my career first and had no time to think about love. Her husband and I avoided eye contact or showing my noticeable gestures that would make her suspect we were close. I maintained a complete professional tone when speaking with him, although I simply slept with him a few times already at that point. When they were done and leaving, walking towards an open door, the husband turned to look at me and gave me a sweet smile, which I returned. The wife noticed. She stared at me non-stop. Her facial expression was not angry, but curious and thinking. Thinking, perhaps, of what that girl looked like based on the description by the man her husband ran into at the restaurant. Through the side window on their Range Rover, I saw the wife asking him, and he was not smiling and speaking with a bored facial expression. Then the car left. Now, let me cut to the chase. I was caught in the middle of their divorce. Well, more accurately, I was the reason his wife was threatening to divorce him. In December, he invited me to a party with two of his close friends. Somehow, his wife followed and shocked us by showing up and confronting him right here and then. A heated argument ensued. She simply asked him who he'd choose. I think you know the answer. I was the chosen one. Their divorce went through a month later. On February 14th, the following year, we went on a trip to Paris together. We did a lot of shopping, and that was the peak of our relationship. Small cracks began to form on my side. Not because he didn't like me anymore. No, it was because of my own conscience. People now knew me as a person who destroyed a family, a marriage. Even my colleagues distanced themselves from me. No big deal then. I no longer had to work, so I quit soon after and became a full-time girlfriend. He agreed to fund any small business I wanted to start, and I did. Fast forward, I now run my own salon in the city. My brother graduated and has a job. My mother has moved to live with me here. My relationship with the man ended within 2 years. It was never meant to be anything more than an affair from the start. It was scandalous. Well, it was worth it. My close friends who I confided this affair in said I was selfish and narcissistic. But I got what I wanted, and he got what he wanted, although it was short-lived.